FYF Sportsman, it's Lamont. We are back with another basketball reaction video, and I had to react to this. I know that we don't touch on a lot of college basketball, and I want to start changing that. I really want to start changing that because in these NBA conversations, these live debates that we have, we turn to these topics all the time, yet I still fail to cover a lot of these college basketball topics like I should. So today we have to touch on it, and we primarily have to touch on it today because in NCAA basketball, Purdue University, and you guys know I have a deep connection to Purdue University. I used to coach the Purdue University club basketball team. We won a national championship in 2017, but that was on the club level. On the D1 level, I've seen this team, grind, a very blue-collar team, defensive team. They play hard-nosed. They play that old-school 90s style. Everything goes through the big man. We look at some of the great big men that have come through Purdue over the past years, right? Glenn Robinson, Caleb Swanigan, these types of players. Isaac Hodge, dominant big man who pound the paint, right? And who are great at what they do. Unfortunately, that style of play, it's been solid as far as getting Purdue into the tournament, but it hasn't been extremely solid at getting Purdue University over the hump and into the national championship consideration. And over the last couple of years, I would say over the last 5 years, Matt Painter has made a concerted effort to recruit differently. He's still hunting those solid big men. He's still hunting those guys down, but his offense now is oriented through the guard positions. We saw that begin with Carson Edwards. All right, we saw it begin with Carson Edwards and his dominance, and just by having that dominant NBA level guard, it can get you deep into the playoffs. They almost got to the Final Four. All right, they lost a close one in the Elite Eight. But I think from that point forward, he changed the way he recruited. And then they went after a guy by the name of Jaden Ivey. If you guys don't know who he is, man, make sure you Google this kid. He's a sophomore at Purdue. Last year, he had his breakout season. Right? Unfortunately, Purdue was upset in the first round. But it also gave everyone an indicator of how good Purdue could be if they came back. And this guy was the leader of this team. And that's what Matt Painter's been able to do at Purdue. I would say this year, this is probably one of the deepest teams that I've ever seen in college basketball. It almost looks as if he has two starting lineups, right? They're bringing in their best player from last year, Travion Williams. He's actually coming off the bench this year to lead the second unit. And he's doing a great job of it. And it's unbelievable that what Matt Painter's done. I've never seen this coaching strategy. The biggest question is it going to be sustainable, and will it work in the NCAA tournament? It looks like they have two different types of lineups to attack any style of play. We saw them down against Villanova, a team that nobody generally comes back when you're down large. They actually were able to come back from a big-time deficit and beat, at that point in time, a number 6 ranked Villanova team, while Purdue, I think, was ranked 3 at that particular time. So again, that shows you how well coached they are, and they're not just beating cupcakes. They've already beaten Iowa. They've already beaten North Carolina. I mean, they beat a team that I just mentioned, Villanova. These are all ranked teams. And teams that are generally in that conversation at the end of the year when March Madness hits. But we're gonna get to Andy Katz. We're gonna let him break down this new Power 36. But man, we're gonna let him break it down. But for me, it's just great to see Purdue University, first time ever ranked number 1 in the country, winning games that they need to win. I've seen so many times in the past where they could have bumped up to the number 1 spot, and then they have these major hiccups where they lose to teams. But you know what? No hiccups so far. When they played Florida State, generally a team with the athleticism that gives them problems. They didn't play no games with them, beat them by 30. I mean, they're just dominating teams. They clearly look like the best team in basketball, while Gonzaga, who was everybody's preseason favorite, they look to be flailing right now and struggling to find consistency, losing so much to the NBA draft. A team like Purdue has brought everything back. They didn't lose much. and it looks like they have the firepower to win the national title this year, barring any major setbacks or injuries. Let's go ahead and get to Andy Katz in the Power 36 rankings for college basketball.
Andy Katz here for ncaa.com and March Madness with my latest Power 36, the new number 1, Purdue. So, Boilermakers are now the number 1 in the Power 36, and for the first time ever, more importantly, number 1 in the AP Top 25 poll. Pretty significant for Purdue to get this because they'd never had it before, which is pretty crazy when you think of their rich history. All right, so let's look at the top 10. Baylor 2. Baylor Bears, undefeated, looking like they can contend for the national championship again. Duke 3, only loss being to Ohio State in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Kansas 4, went on the road in Long Island, knocked off St. John's. 5, Alabama. Yeah, I made a mistake last week. I'm owning that. I moved teams around. Somehow I lost the tide. Well, Alabama made sure that everyone remembers them now because Alabama went to Seattle and knocked off Gonzaga, pulled away from the Zags. In fact, Jaden Shackelford with his 28 points was our National Player of the Week. Number 6, UCLA, starting off the Pac-12 strong with a win over Colorado. 7, Arizona, they went on the road to open the Pac-12. 8, Villanova, they're just dominating the Big 5. 9, well, I'm going with Ohio State, which was our team of the week after not just knocking off Duke, but following that up with a Big Ten opening road win at Penn State on Sunday night. And number 10, the Zags. 2 losses. Don't want to drop them out of the top 10 yet, but they're in a little bit of a trouble right now because they got to get their act together, get better in sync, certainly later in the game. All right, a couple other notables from the Power 36. Iowa State, 15, they go to Creighton and win, undefeated. 20, North Carolina, they weren't ranked the previous week. Well, knocked off Michigan and then beat Georgia Tech. 24, how about Colorado State? End up beating St. Mary's, the Rams undefeated. 25, Iowa. Yes, they lost to Purdue. I was there. That's a top 25 team. They almost beat Purdue, came all the way back without Keegan Murray. He was hurt with an ankle injury. The Hawkeyes were incredibly impressive in that game. And at number 35, Syracuse. Orange had kind of been all over the map, lost early in the season to Colgate, but they had a great week. Beat Indiana double overtime, and then opened the ACC with a road win at Florida State.
Hey, so, there he has it. Full breakdown right there. Andy Katz, man, one of the best in the game, man. I love going to this guy for college basketball. He's usually pretty dead on with his takes, pretty solid. But you know what? This college season is early. A lot of things unfold early, and by the end of the season, rankings change, teams come out of the blue. So I don't expect this to look the same, but for the most part, from what I'm seeing and from the college basketball that I've watched to this date, I think it's pretty consistent. That Baylor at number 2, kind of surprising. I watched Baylor play. They don't look like they're better than Duke, even though Duke took a tough loss to Ohio State. I haven't really watched much of Kansas. Gonzaga looks like they're struggling to find chemistry and consistency. Chet Holmgren, the touted freshman, he looks solid, but is he looking like that All-American type player that you're going to draft with a lottery pick? I don't know. He's not looking like that type of player just yet. Maybe things change as the season goes on. Alabama is definitely a surprise team. Got some players over there, some high-level transfers that's really helped turn that program around. Michigan's always solid. I like them. UConn back in the top 25, man. Last couple of years, man, dealing with academic issues that kept a lot of players out, so they've been struggling to get that consistency. So it's great to see UConn back in the top 25 as well. Michigan State, it seems like they're a mainstay. And regardless of what happens with that team, seems like they're always in the top 25. And in Indiana, making the top 36. Indiana struggling over the last couple of years, man. They fired their coach last year. They brought in a new NBA guy who can hopefully help them turn things around. So I'm hoping to see Mike Woodson down there at IU get IU back into the fold, because over the last couple of years, that Purdue-IU matchup has not been looking very competitive. Purdue has just been stomping a mud hole in the Hoosiers over the last couple of years. So hopefully Mike Woodson can make things look more competitive down there in Bloomington because it's not looking good. So, I mean, there we have it right there. Every week, I'm going to make sure to check in on the Power 36 for college basketball. And we may do some watch-alongs, similar to how we do the watch-alongs for the NBA. Next time there's a major game, it's probably going to be one of the Purdue games. I'm definitely going to be doing a watch party for the Purdue-Ohio State game. That's going to be a clash of two Big Ten powerhouses. I think they do play this year. But again, whenever they play, we're going to have to. But the Big Ten is going to be tough. Gonzaga's going to have a few more tough matchups. I'm actually going to be going to the Gonzaga-Texas Tech game. If you guys have been following the channel for a minute, we had a player for Texas Tech on this platform, Adonis Arms. We interviewed him on the channel. He's going to be playing in that game. So we're going to be watching that game. I'm going to be going to that game live. I'm going to be getting some clips for you guys. And then we're going to have them back on the show to break down the film, whether they win or lose. We got to get them back on the show to talk about those things. Also talk about some gear, some merch that he's also dropped. So we're going to help support him there as well. So again, it's FYF Sports, man. It's been a great college Power 36 breakdown video. We're going to be doing this every week. But Purdue University, #1 in the country for the first time. In history. But hold on. That's only D1 basketball. You know, Purdue club basketball, we were #1 in the country for 2 years. So again, Purdue, man, y'all slipping, man. There's a lot of people on that campus y'all need to be giving credit to, not just the D1 team. That club team worked hard for 2 years and brought Purdue a national championship, something that's rare. One of the first national titles that Purdue has seen. And we brought it there, man. Make sure y'all give that 2017 Purdue club basketball team Dave flowers, man. They put in a lot of work with little recognition. But it's FYF Sports, man. It's been another great podcast episode. We're going to be back with more sports and news. But until then, it's FYF Sports. And we out.